Are you worried about today's dire financial situation?
Put simply, I would argue the Biden economic plan is working.
The storms on Wall Street continue today after regulators seized the assets of Silicon Valley Bank, marking the largest bank failure since the 2008 financial crisis.
Do you worry you'll have enough to pay your mortgage, pay your children's college tuition, enough to retire?
I believe our banking system remains strong.
Regional banks in focus once again today as the market digests the fallout of the First Republic failure.
You have questions, we have answers. It's the gold standard with Ken Russo and Jennifer Horn.
Thank you for joining us for another great episode of the Gold Standard Radio Show. Ken Russo and Jennifer Horn back together again. And Ken, there is, boy, a lot going on in this world right now. And we're trying to keep an eye on all of it.
Joe's got it all under control.
Right. Yeah. Uh-huh.
And that woman that was just recording, Janet. What?
Oh, Janet Yellen.
I think our banking system is strong.
Did you hear her? We always like to set the stage as to how we got in the situation that we got. But if you happen to hear Janet Yellen this week, I think it might have been last weekend on the Sunday shows. Someone was interviewing Janet Yellen. Mike Gary, our producer, who keeps us going here, and all of us glued together. Mike, Janet Yellen had a lot to say, right?
Yeah, I have some sound from that. Yeah, we can pay for 2 wars. We have our Amex card, and we can pay for those wars. 2 of them, no
she
problem.
Says, we're no problem. The economy's totally fine. It's healthy, even if we have to go to war again.
I'm sure that she's qualified to be a political advisor as well, right? A military advisor.
Absolutely.
Oh,
just, go.
Definitely.
Go
Janet.
Hit the sand. Let's go.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
I'd give you $500,000 for a speech.
Would
Janet.
you?
Yeah, no problem.
Just run it.
Just
put it
like
on my
those
tab.
clowns at Goldman Sachs and all the Wall Street companies. I mean, how many millions and millions of dollars do they keep siphoning off to these, well, whatever.
Yucking it up.
Ding-dongs.
Ding-dongs, patting each other on the back.
But these ding-dongs
are making the decisions.
These are the people that are actually, controlling our money and making the Federal Reserve decisions and the Treasury decisions and the monetary budget decisions and the deficit spending decisions. There's all these other cuckoo birds in in Congress and all of that. It's befuddling. It's baffling.
It is absolutely befuddle is the right word.
I could be a great politician.
Tell me.
I could spend unlimited money.
Yeah.
I could lie.
Yeah.
I could be promiscuous.
Yeah.
And I can take bribes.
And and by the way, you'd be a congressman if that was
Absolutely.
I mean, it's just like you just check
I think
the
I
boxes.
could be president of the United States.
Exactly.
Well, let's tell people why everything isn't so hunky-dory, and let's tell them why they should probably consider maybe protecting some of what's theirs.
Absolutely. And gold and precious metals are the way to do that. That's what we're going to talk about today. And of course, you can always call Midas Gold Group to ask them any questions that you have about protecting your wealth, about avoiding the government, getting some privacy, bringing some money home in the form of gold and precious metals. 855-322-4653, 855-322-GOLD for Midas Gold Group. But we are in this situation because back in 1971, Richard Nixon made the decision, it was a little experiment, not to back the dollar with gold anymore.
The fiat experience.
That's right.
And that fiat experience is the same experiment that's blowing up today. I am not a crook.
I always love when we have baby Nixon.
I am going to print as much money as possible. The bankers told me I had to do this, or I was going to, wake up in an alley somewhere.
And we didn't want that, right, Richard?
And then we had the dollar became the petrodollar in 74. So a lot of stuff is changing. It's been a good run based on fake money, abnormally low interest rates.
Right.
But voila, it has changed.
Things have changed. And you know what? It's starting to catch up with us, right?
Well, absolutely.
That's the real problem.
Yeah.
And so we're going to go through today some of the reasons to buy gold, to buy silver, to bring those home with you so that they're where you can access them if you need them. But before we do, you were going through some research for the show, and I love when you come in
just
prepped,
real quick.
And you go hot off the presses.
Yeah, some things that you just read, Jen, it just jumps out at you.
And this is stunning. So tell the people what this is.
It's outrageous.
Yeah.
The U.S. is now adding debt at an exponential rate. Well, that sounds familiar. The U.S. racked up its first $10 trillion in debt over the course of 232 years. following the great financial crisis back in 2008, it added another 10 trillion in just 9 years. The next 10 trillion took only 4 years.
Wow.
And by the looks of things, the next 10 trillion will take even less than that, because the U.S. has added 2 trillion in the last 4 months. And this is really good. We're adding $1.2 billion in debt as a country and as a government per hour.
How are we going to ever catch up? There is
Never.
no way.
No.
1.2 billion. Let that sink in. We are spending as a country, well, with the debt, 1.2 billion per hour of the day.
Yeah, now if we were bringing in $1.2 billion per hour,
No problem.
and deficit spending $1.2 billion per hour, then okay. But obviously we're not. And the question is are they just going to keep doing this until the whole system folds up like
Because there's an end
cheap
game here.
suit? Mike
Right.
said that too.
That's right.
A lot of contributions today from
I know.
producer Mike.
Usually he's quiet, but today he's telling us they're folding like a cheap suit. And this is really the crisis that we're in. And so today, think about this. If the system is at some point not going to be able to keep up anymore with 1.2 billion in debt being racked up per hour, and if we have wars that are continuing to blow up across the globe, and if we have a digital currency that's coming and government intervention in your life, what are you doing? It's
You just
time.
went over some of the reasons,
Well,
Jen.
we're going to go back through them, but
Okay.
but it's time. It is time to add gold and silver to your portfolio. It's time to take some of the money that you've worked really hard to earn and bring it home in the form of precious metals. You do it with Midas Gold Group. They are America First patriots. They are veteran owned, and they're going to talk you through your situation. Literally everybody that I've met at Midas Gold Group, you're not calling a phone center, a phone bank. You're calling real people who can address your individual needs. 855-322-4653. If you've been listening to us week after week, enough waiting. It is time. It is
and guys
time.
that wouldn't vaccinate their 5-year-old children either.
right.
So if you want to talk to like-minded people, call in. And you want to know what this is important too, Jen?
Yeah.
Because we still have the ability to move some of our money around.
That's right.
I honestly think that the banking system and the markets are the retirement companies, because when everybody pulls their money out of these entities, they're insolvent because they have to realize their losses. I think eventually they're going to limit us for how much we can pull out of the bank, say, per year, or out of our retirement account per year, and then we're stuck.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. It's only going to last for so long. 855-322-4653. That's 855-322-GOLD for Midas Gold Group. So let's go through some of
Yes.
these reasons today. And let's start off with something that many of us are accustomed to, the old credit card.
Yeah,
Right?
I mean, the debt crisis, we just talked about it. It's on the way. How much do they have to print and have in deficit spending before too much is enough? Everyone's doing it. It's outrageous, and outrageous circumstances lead to outrageous results.
That's right.
Financially, we will have an outrageous result.
Now, you've got the debt crisis that
Yes.
is underway. You have the banking sector, which this is one of these stunning factoids that you bring to us. Under normal circumstances, you would think a bank collapse would be national news for months. But we've had 6 this year so far.
Yeah, and some of the biggest ones in the history of our country. There's $4 trillion in the 4 biggest banks that's uninsured in deposits. There's been trillions of dollars that have left these banks over the last year. People are fleeing the banking system if they have to, or when they have to realize their losses on these commercial buildings that are half full, on bonds, on their other investments. The money has to come from somewhere. We're in a fractional banking system, and obviously the banks are not as safe as you would think, for sure. Very fragile. Many people don't know this, Jen. Money markets at banks are not insured.
Yeah, and speaking of insurance, by the
Yes.
way, many of us have this false sense of security when we see FDIC insured on the outside of our banking institution or someplace where we keep our money.
Yeah.
You've educated me to the fact that the FDIC isn't even necessarily the government, right?
No, it's not, and they don't have enough insurance for everybody. And I mean, they have roughly 150 billion in assets, and they're trying to insure 12, 13 trillion in deposits. What about all these big corporations that have more than $250,000 in an account? It's a bad situation, but they have to convince people to keep their money in the banking system somehow. They have to convince people to keep their money in the retirement accounts in the stock market somehow, because when they don't and take it out in mass, it's not real.
Collapse, right?
That's right, collapse.
All right, next up on the list, free money created a huge bubble. Everybody loves free money, but there's no such thing as free.
Yeah, and listen, a lot of free money handed out, and the interest rate 3 years ago was 0.1%. Now the interest rate is like 5% for government borrowing. That's obviously a big problem. The cost of servicing the debt. The next is the U.S. is drowning in debt, $33 trillion in debt, $200 trillion in unfunded liabilities. The interest rate payment is going to be more than we spend on military, and we have other wars that we're obviously going to be, dragged into. It's a never-ending vicious circle of debt.
Absolutely, and that would include the global debt, the government deficit spending that you've got on this list.
So what's going to happen to our money?
Right.
What's going to happen to the purchasing power of our money? What's going to happen to the safety of our money at these banks and these retirement accounts? These are all facts. This is not made up.
That's right.
These are facts. So if you're sitting out there, you have $50,000, $100,000, $500,000 in a bank or in a retirement account, you have to really ask yourself, do I understand really what these risks are?
Right.
What exactly can go wrong and what exactly can go right? It would be our contention that there's not really too much at this point besides ease of convenience that's going to go right. And listen, there's a lot that can go wrong.
And what should people do? They should call Midas Gold Group. They should do it this week, because we talk about this and we say, okay, there's a little bit of a calm or a lull. The globe is on fire at this moment.
Yeah, it is.
The value of the dollar is declining each and every day. So you want to do something to protect yourself.
Yeah, and gold was up $60 per ounce one day last week. I mean, obviously it will reflect ultimately what the dollar loses, and gold will be at a much higher price. I don't know what people are waiting for. And like we said, you still have an opportunity to do it. The problem, Jen, is not going to be owning too much gold. In our opinion, the problem will be having too much of your money wrapped up and connected to a sick, dying financial system.
A system that is in decline.
Absolutely.
855-322-4653. That's the number for Midas Gold Group. Give them a call. Veteran-owned, America First Patriots, 855-322-GOLD. That's 855-322-GOLD, or always MidasGoldGroup.com. You can go see them in Phoenix or in Thousand Oaks. 855-322-GOLD. More up ahead. It is the Gold Standard Radio Show with Ken Russo and Jennifer Horn.
Dr. Gorka here. You're listening to The Gold Standard with your hosts, Ken Russo from veteran-owned Midas Gold Group and Jennifer Horn. Owning private money in the form of physical gold and silver is perhaps more important than ever to your long-term financial security. As U.S. banks fail, the Biden administration sends hundreds of billions abroad while depleting our strategic oil reserves. However, the biggest financial threat may be coming from within: central bank digital currency. The patents have been filed and the big banks have released plans for implementation. Midas Gold Group sees tyrannical implications: the end of cash, the end of financial privacy, big government able to see your every purchase. Could there be ties to social credit? Hear more commentary on the political and economic issues that affect your financial security right here on the Gold Standard. You can create your own Gold Standard with a call to Midas Gold Group, 855-322-GOLD. That's 855-322-4653, MidasGoldGroup.com.
Welcome back to the Gold Standard Radio Show. Ken Russo and Jennifer Horn back together again, and we are going through the reasons that you should own gold, and there is a list of them.
Oh, my goodness.
But don't forget silver, gold's beautiful stepsister.
Yeah.
Precious metals in general hold their value. They have over time. They are historic, and they've been around for hundreds and hundreds of years now. You taught me something today, Ken Russo.
Real quick. And obviously, when gold does well, silver's going to do well too. So this is a silver round.
It's beautiful.
This is a buffalo head design silver round.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked you, Jen, what was the difference between this silver coin and an American silver eagle?
And I was tricked because I looked at it and said United States of America, but you taught me that it's not made from the United States Mint. It was made privately.
Yeah,
right?
it's made by a private company like a bar.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no legal tender monetary value on here, but it's still 1 pure ounce of fine silver.
The way to hold silver, essentially. Yeah.
0.999 pure. So for those investors or those clients that are looking for a more inexpensive way to own silver than maybe a government coin,
Sure.
there are options, and one of them being the 1 ounce silver buffalo head round.
And they're really beautiful.
They are.
Yeah, I really.
And you can stack them. You could hear them. Sounds
make
like
it
silver
rain.
poker chip. Yeah, you can make it rain.
If you have enough of them, you can
Yeah.
put it in your vault and swim through them like Uncle Scrooge
Every
used to do.
American should have some of these in their vault. Why
yeah,
not?
Absolutely. Every American should have a vault, first of all. Let's do that. And you can get those beautiful rounds at Midas Gold Group, 855-322-GOLD. We'll remind you of that again throughout the program, 855-322-4653. You can check them out online, MidasGoldGroup.com. Now, Ken, let's get back to the
Yes.
list. A lot of stuff going on in the world. The dollar is being devalued. Our banking system is in decline. The whole system is in
Yes,
decline.
the reasons to own the ultimate crisis asset.
That's right.
Gold.
And global debt is a huge
Yes.
piece of this. It's not just our problems here at home in the United States. We're talking about a crisis on the global scale.
Yeah, and a lot of these other countries, the citizens have woken up in the morning and their money's gone.
Right.
We're just not used to that here.
We
because
hear
this
those
is
stories.
Yeah, they're real. And there's $320 trillion or so in global debt. Obviously, that all has to be refinanced and financed at much higher rates eventually. Big problem, not going away. Whole world is doing it, much different than where we were 30 or 40 years ago.
All right, let's move on to inflation,
Yes.
which is the devaluation of our currency. You've heard me say that a bit today because it's real and we all are feeling it on the smallest levels and even on the big scale.
Yeah, and it's not done. It was inevitable a few years ago when you
predicted it.
asked me. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't take a MIT scientist to know that if they print trillions and trillions of dollars and it's chasing around the same amount of goods, that there's going to be inflation and prices are going to go up, and that's just the nature of the fiat system. Inflation is part of it. So they're deflating the same bubble that they inflated,
That's right.
and that's where a big problem and disaster is looming when it comes to our financial system and our money. So inflation is not anywhere near finished.
All right, CBDC is inevitable.
Yes.
Explain that one.
Central bank digital currency.
We've heard it.
Yes, government controlled more than likely. Everyone will have an app on their phone or, online access. The accounts will probably be held either by the Treasury or by the Federal Reserve itself. It will involve monitoring. Our money could be shut off, turned on. The whole system will be reset. Who knows what our money's going to be worth? The whole world is headed in this direction. Yeah. You don't have to have all of your money wrapped up in that type of a system. And usually people who want gold and want silver, it's for exactly that reason.
With Big Brother watching your every move with that with that digital currency. And by the way, whether you're a Democrat or Republican or somewhere in the middle, one thing that we all share is that there's a distrust of this government from all political parties. So,
and rightfully earned.
If you're a Republican, you want Joe Biden saying, I don't like what that person's saying. Maybe we ought to think about a social credit score. Maybe we should shut things down like the Canadian truckers. And on the other side, if you're a Democrat and President Trump gets reelected, people don't trust him on the other side of the aisle. So are you putting yourself in a situation where the government has too much oversight and control over your life?
Yeah.
Gold is held at home. You can touch it. You can feel it. It's tangible.
And why would you keep all of your paper assets wrapped up in a monitored system like that where you have absolutely no control versus holding your gold, holding your silver where you actually control real money? And there is a big movement like the BRICS we're going to mention next. They're banding together the BRIC nations.
That's right.
They want to do business with each other in local currencies.
Let's go through the BRICS nations again.
Well, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and they're going to get more new members. A lot of the oil producers of the world, like Iran, United Arab Emirates, and whatnot. So you have countries that have real stuff that's going to back their businesses and back their money. It's not an instantaneous thing, but the world is moving away from the dollar and away from U.S. debt and they're moving into other directions.
And that should
one of
scare
these
us
is
all.
being controlled by the BRIC nations.
That's right. All right, next up on the list, the financial system is unstable. You could say that again.
Geez,
Underline it. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, banks fail, investment companies go down, cryptocurrency companies just disappear. Is it unstable? Yeah. I mean, it's drowning in debt, it's drowning in leverage, and we haven't even talked about the derivatives,
Right.
which there's like $2 quadrillion worth of derivatives that these financial institutions use to, trade paper contracts back and forth with each other. There's gonna be some bad bets. It's just waiting. It's dynamite.
Yeah.
That's what that is. So that's just inevitable. Is it unstable? Absolutely.
855-322-4653. That's a number for Midas Gold Group. You should call them. You can talk to Ken Russo. You can talk to the whole gang. 855-322-4653. Even in person. If you're in the Phoenix area, you can go in person there. If you're in Thousand Oaks, stop in and see them, MidasGoldGroup.com. Up next, the intrinsic value of fiat money is zero.
Yeah, and this has happened in other countries before, like the Weimar Republic, and that's why people are, concerned about holding real money and real assets, tangible assets at this point, because we all know that we're printing to infinity. Is that how you say it?
Infinity.
Infinity.
And
there
beyond.
you go. And
like
beyond.
Buzz Lightyear.
Printing to infinity and beyond. So if we do that, ultimately our money is going to lose tremendous purchasing power, and that's exactly what's happening. That's how we've been fooled for decades, but now people are really starting to see exactly how it works.
The reality has set in. Now, next up on the list, this one, all you had to do was watch the House of Representatives in the last couple of weeks. Political chaos. I mean, it's
and is
insane.
there any quick fix to that?
No. And again, no matter what side of the political aisle you're on, people are crazy that are running this country.
So there's not even any organization there. So when when it happens bad with the financial system, who exactly is going to be there to make these decisions? No one.
Joe can't even find his way down the stairs, for crying out loud.
Well, no, Jill can help him.
All right.
Dr. Jill.
And in all seriousness, next up on the list is war. And this is a problem that we're seeing maybe now with the United States involved with Ukraine, now getting involved with Israel.
Of course.
You've got hotspots that are all over the place.
Yes, and of course humanity is number one. But this is big business. We spent $14 trillion on the war on terror since 2003. Why?
Yeah, and
where,
for what?
Why?
What did we get?
Where, why? How? Why? How? So it's going to be more of the same. Where's all this money coming from? Out of thin air. And if all this money comes out of thin air and we continue to do all of this spending and we continue to pile on all these derivatives with all of this leverage manipulated by the markets and by the banking system and the government, what the heck do you think is going to happen?
Absolutely. And it's time. It's time now. We talk about the calm, but it's not even that calm anymore. You have things that are happening all around you. If you're paying attention, the move is that you've got to protect your family, your wealth, the money that you've worked hard for. You do it with Midas Gold Group. So, Ken, in our final moment here, people have heard this list now. We know there are problems.
2 times because it's that important.
Yeah.
But we've been, standing on a soapbox for years. Get some money out of the banking system. Get some money out of cash. Get some money out of your retirement accounts. Convert some of your IRA, some of your old 401ks to physical, tangible gold, silver, platinum. It'll be there when you need it. You can control it. Much different than being totally reliant on a system where these leaders think that they can use our money to run their system and run their agendas. In my opinion, that's unacceptable. So the thing you can do about it so you don't have to comply is own gold and silver, lighten up on the paper assets, lighten up on the stock market assets, give yourself a chance to financially survive this storm, because this storm is upon us and it's going to get a lot worse.
Yeah, and you take that money, you put it at home, you take it out of the purview of the government, you take it out of the hands of the people who are making bad decisions you probably don't agree with, and you get yourself away from the chaos. This is your stability.
This is your chance.
This is your chance. And now is the time. If you've been waiting, call Midas Gold Group, 855-322-4653. They'll take all kinds of questions. If you've had a gold dealer in the past, you're looking for someone new, call Midas Gold Group, 855-322-4653, 855-322-GOLD. You can always go online as well, MidasGoldGroup.com. That's MidasGoldGroup.com. goldstandard.com or 855-322-4653. Thanks for joining us. It's a Gold Standard Radio Show with Ken Russo and Jennifer Horn.